Hey guys, what's up? It's B-Ballin, and I am just here to bring you a pretty, a video about TI4. So this is just going to be my predictions for the qualifiers, or the playoff predictions, as well as the wildcard tournament. And I'll just go over this really quickly with you guys. You can test your comparisons. I am known for making bad predictions, but the one prediction I did make last year was that only 3 Eastern teams would make it to the top 8 last year in TI4, and 1 would make it in the top 3, and I am very proud to say that I was right in that situation. Now, my qualifier predictions are pretty shit, not gonna lie, whatever. But now we're at the real main event, and this is where all the chips are down, so just gonna go over a quick bit of predictions. So in TI4, first, there's going to be the wildcard tournament with all the runner-up in the individual qualifier spots. So in the first round, it's going to be Liquid vs CIS and VP versus MVP. The winners face each other, and the winner of that then moves on to the main tournament. So I predicted Liquid, and I made this decision after just a little bit of thought. So one of the factors is that CIS actually was in a very, very long involved visa process, and Black himself has said that they have not really been practicing too much because they were worried about the visas, and they only got in after the 4th or 5th try, so they didn't even know they'll be at TI4 until about, I guess, 5 days ago, and of course the playoffs are tomorrow. So I don't think CIS will be on top form. Meanwhile, Liquid has just been training just for the qualifier spots and have not really been focusing on the main tournament, so I think they're fully prepared. They probably watched quite a few replays. Furthermore, this isn't Liquid's first time around the rodeo. Meanwhile, CIS is largely composed of a lot of new talent. Now, I am not a person who really puts a value on experience, but come on, this is TI4. This is the biggest place to have your first LAN, and I do think the majority of CIS players are on their first LAN, aside from Black, of course. So I do think Liquid will take the matchup against CIS, and I think VP will take out MVP Phoenix. Now, VP is one of those teams can hit or miss, and keep in mind these predictions I'm making are not really too bold. VP has a very heavy favorite against MVP, and Liquid is a slight favorite for CIS, but I do think that VP will beat MVP. VP, they have quite a number of veterans. I mean, I'm a VP fanboy. If VP had a pennant last year, I would have bought it, even though they finished like last place or second last, just because I like their style of play. I like NS. I'm a fan of Arzart. God, of course, I'm a fan of as well. Illidan is probably the weakest link because he doesn't really farm exceptionally well, and he makes quite a number of bad decisions. But VP, I've not really been playing in any other tournaments, so I have to hope for VP's sake that they have been practicing quite a bit. And MVP Phoenix, this is, I think, their 3rd LAN together, but this is only their 2nd international LAN. And we're going to have to see if they can handle the VP style, because VP plays very unorthodox. They like to pick their own very stable heroes, whether it be Disruptor for NS, Varian for Arzart, stuff like that. They just really don't give a crap about what the other team picks. They just like to pick their own stuff, and they like to fight early and often. And when it doesn't work, well, they fall flat on their faces. But MVP have not really faced that style outside of playing Empire once in Star Ladder, so I think VP can catch off MVP off guard. So I think VP will be able to beat MVP Phoenix. And finally, VP versus Liquid. I do think Liquid's sort of more stable style. If you looked at the TI4 qualifiers, you saw that Liquid are emulating a very heavy EG influence draft, which is heavy focus on team fights, just stable play. And VP, well, again, they're very much hit or miss, and I think they can fall flat on their face first, facing just solid stability. Although VP, with some of their stronger picks like OD or Dragon Knight with God, could prove to be a bit of trouble, and I actually anticipate that matchup going 50-50, but Liquid, I think, is the more consistent team, and I do think consistency does matter into just making the tournament. So those are my predictions for the wildcard tournament. Now just going over my Compendium predictions. Hero-specific predictions: Mirana going to be the most picked hero, a very heavy favorite in the Asian and the Western scene, although she has been sort of fading out a bit, but now we're seeing more Western teams play her as support, where the Chinese teams have already been playing her as a support. Most banned hero is probably going to be Batrider in a best-of-1 format, which is what the playoffs are comprised of. is just a hero you don't really want to give away in any situation because you really just fear that best initiation in the game. And of course, I'm a Batrider fan, but yeah. The thing about Lycan is that if you are not on the Dire, you probably won't have to fear banning out the Lycan as much. So expect teams to really, they'll ban out the Lycan very frequently, but I do think some teams have some false sense of security dealing with the Lycan. And you see teams like Mouse give away Lycans, you see teams like DK give away Lycan in order to pick up Axe or heroes like that. But Batrider just seems to be a more generally feared hero in general, except of course when Lycan's on Dire, which is when he is truly ridiculous. Heroes never picked or banned, 4 to 6. I don't think Huskar will be played. Spear Breaker will definitely not be played. Night Stalker is hit or miss. Of course, these are all some of my favorite heroes in the game, but 4 to 6 seems like a solid number for me. I would have actually been able to go lower, but the selections are closed, so I'm just going to go with 4 to 6. Hero with the most average kills I do think is Tinker, because Tinker, if he gets the ball rolling, just kills everybody. And there is really no hero that snipes as much as Tinker, snipes as many kills with either laser or the Dagon build. And of course, this is average kills, not total kills. We expect to see Tinker banned quite a bit, but in the games he is played, and the games he does get out to the hot start, he is going to get a crap ton of kills. And the only hero that might be able to rival him in terms of kill count has got to be somebody like, I don't know, Templar Assassin or something like that. A hero with a lot amount of burst damage, and a hero who can just sort of fight very frequently. Hero with the most average deaths I do think is Io the Wisp, and the reason why I think that is that the Eastern teams have sort of been caught off a bit off guard by the Wisp. We saw Fnatic beat VG pretty convincingly with the Wisp in their 2 choices, and I do think the Eastern teams will not sleep on the Wisp anymore. If they see the Wisp, they're going to focus him down very frequently, and I do think Wisp will die quite a bit. Now, I don't think the Wisp team will lose that much, but when the relocate comes in, especially with Void regaining a lot of popularity, expect, and Enigma, of course, regaining a lot of popularity, expect that Wisp to be focus fire down, and that's why I think he will have the most average deaths. Of course, average. So if there's only one game with Crystal Main and there's like 30 games with Wisp, and the Crystal Main dies 20 times, whereas Wisp dies on average, let's say about 12 times. That's an extreme example, but Crystal Maid would take the most average deaths in that situation. But I do think Wisp will die quite a bit. Hero with the most average last hits. A bit of a tough call for me between Shadow Fiend, Tinker, Naga, heroes of that nature, but I do think Shadow Fiend will get the most average last hits because I do think that Tinker will either snowball the game very hard or he'll get shut down very hard. There is not really the best middle ground with Tinker. Either you hold out long enough for Tinker to get rolling, or you just snowball him out of control, or he just gets owned by like Clock, Storm, etc. Meanwhile, Shadow Fiend, you can't really stop his farm if you jungle stack and just really just keep on top of your farm game. He is just so difficult to shut down in terms of farm, so I do think he will get the most average last hits. Again, if somebody like PL is only picked once, but he picks up 600 CS in the only game that he's played, that can be skewed, but I do think Shadow Fiend is a very strong choice in this situation. Most average assists, this was a bit of a difficult choice for me. It was varying between like Shadow Demon with the Shadow Poison assist damage, Wisp with the IO Spirits and the Tether. I decided to go for Elder Titan just because if his Spirit hits you and you guys get a kill, he's going to be involved in 5 of those kills per team fight if your team does manage to get a full wipe. So I do think ET will get the most average assists. The problem with ET is that he's not really the best fighting offlaner, because he does need like level 8, level 9, and then he can start fighting. So he's not really the best in terms of most frequent fights, but in terms of fight contribution, there's very little that ET cannot do as an offlaner. Of course, if you want initiation, you just go with Barrett. If you want disruption, Clockwork is a good choice, but I think ET will be able to get a lot of average assists. Again, there are other solid options, Bristleback with Quill Spray or that nature, Ember with Sleight of Fist, Searing Chains can provide a lot of assists. But I just decided to go with ET because I do think we'll see ET a relatively good amount. We see EG play him quite a bit. ET is seen as a very solid Morphling counter. And I do think when the chips are down, teams will go with safe picks. Except for Empire. And Morphling is generally seen as a reasonably safe pick. And ET will be picked as a counter pick in that situation. Now, the only hero I'm confident with this is Batter and Mirana. I do think Tigger will get the most kills, but these other options, I have no idea. I just guessed. Hero with the most first bloods, Mirana by a long shot because of the arrow disruption combination. Of course, the supports could chaos it, but Mirana will probably be involved in most first bloods, and therefore, as a result, she will probably pick up a large number of those. Hero with the most tower damage has got to be Wolf. Again, in best of one, you don't really want to deal with the Wolf, but I do think in best of one situations, teams will be focusing more on the individual teams that they're playing against rather than just a generic. Of course, when you're playing against Barrett and Lycan, you have to sort of ban those out, but the second bans will sort of focus on the teams rather than the generic flavor of the month ban, because this is TI4, nobody knows what the meta is going to bring. So I do think that tower damage, Lycan will take the cake. GPM, in the few games that anti-mage will be played, he will get the highest GPM. And there are teams who do like to play anti-mage. VG likes to pick him, DK likes to pick him, I'm pretty sure LGD likes to pick him as well. Hero with the lowest GPM has got to be Tree. PPD is a very, very strong Treant player, but you don't often see him get too much gold. Aki is the Treant player for Alliance, you don't see him with any gold. Treant doesn't flash farm, oftentimes he just wanders around in Nature's Guide with invisibility on, just acting as a mobile ward. He doesn't really get too much kills, not really involved in too many assists. In turn, Tree, the only thing that's sort of against Tree in this situation is that when you pick Tree, you often want to snowball the early game, and that means you want to go for tower pushes, and tower pushes of course contribute to the GPM. But if a Treant is behind, you will not be able to farm whatsoever. Mirana is going to be the hero with the most wins, and Mirana is also going to be the hero with the most losses. And that's what you get for being the most popular hero. Now, if I wanted to go a bit outside of the box, I think hero with the most wins would probably... Hero with the most losses, I think, would probably be Wisp. I think teams are going to put a lot of emphasis on the Wisp. And I guess hero with the most wins, again, you have to sort of keep into account the pick bans as well. So I'm not too sure what the hero with the most wins would be, so I picked Mirana. So yeah, how long will the shortest game be? If I had to make a choice, I'd change this to 15 to 20 minutes because this is TI4, it's best of ones. If it was best of 3 or best of 2s, you could sort of regain your breath, think about it, go into the next game. But this is TI4 where if you're not in the top 8, you're just getting shift changed, relatively speaking. So I do think teams will fight it out. Longest game, if I had to make a choice, I'd reduce this from 100 to 105 to 90 to 95, just because this meta has been a lot more fast-paced and teams have gotten so good at farming. When you think about it, Refresher Tidehunter would not be seen until maybe like the 70-minute mark in the old days. Now you see Refresher Tidehunter at the 45-50-minute mark. So teams have gotten better at farming, they've gotten better at exploiting timings, and if the game lasts 100 to 105 minutes, then something has gone wrong in one of the team's game plans. One of the latest first blood occurred, 10 to 12 minutes. Probably going to be from a Western team. If I had to make a guess, it would probably be... EG plays pretty aggressive. No, I guess it would be an Eastern team. It would probably be like NewBee or LGD. Earlier Roshan will occur if you have a Lycan or a TA, 0 to 7 minutes. I don't think any team will really make the mistake of giving away a before the horn Aegis Roshan. So I don't think that's going to happen. How many kills will neutral creeps get over 120 games? Keep in mind that oftentimes you see this quite often with teams like C9. In order to be more efficient, in order to recover their HP as well as mana, they'll buy out and they'll suicide to neutrals. You don't see this too often, but it does happen. So 7-8 might be a bit on the low side, but I do think at least 5 of those will come from like C9 or teams of that nature. Times the Aegis is stolen by the other team. I think this is a bit on the high side if I had to think about it. Aegis is just so important in these tournaments, but Aegis can be snatched. And keep in mind, in a large Rosh fight, if both teams are duking out, one team might get the Rosh and the other team might get the Aegis, and there's just something you can't do about that. So if I had to take it back, I'd probably go down to 3 to 4, but 5 to 6 is pretty reasonable. 41 to 50 couriers will be killed. Sometimes you see teams like Navi with Puppy rotate in and try to get the mid-soul courier snipe. And Chinese teams often play place courier awards so they can just go and snipe global heroes like Prophet, who have been making a huge comeback with the Alliance, as well as Liz can teleport in and try to snipe the courier. The courier will not be safe this tournament, but 41 to 50 might be a bit low in balling. If I had to bet, it would probably be 31 to 40 or 31 to 40. Highest kills in a single game. If VP makes it through, VP versus Empire will have something like this. How many allies will be denied? This is total 7 to 9. Only time you really see denies are against Doom and I suppose Venomancer when the Poison Sting buff has been applied. And I guess Queen of Pain. Largest difference in team gold in a single game. I don't think I understood this question too much, so I'm not going to bother to give my insight on this because I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. How many 30 plus games with no rush on kills? This is TI4. If you want to win, you're going to play safe unless you're just going balls deep after you win a giant team fight. So there's going to be very few games where Roshan will not be killed that last 30 minutes. And if a game goes 30 minutes and you have no Roshan kills, then one team's game plan has gone terribly wrong, because one team is probably going to be pushing and they're going to get the Aegis to try to push up the high ground, or they just get a wipe. They're going to go in and try to rape the other team's base, and I don't think that's going to happen too frequently. Most courier kills in a single game, 2. Very rarely ever seen 3 courier kills in a single game. First 4 places, I made this prediction a while ago, and I do think it's actually wrong now. I just been playing too damn well. This pick is a bit more fanboy, but I do think Alliance will take it once again. I do think Alliance have shown a lot of versatility in their drafts. Yeah, they're a bit reliant on the Nature's Prophet and the Wisp combo, but Loda is a strong carry player. He can play pretty much any carry in the game, and that's what I think makes Alliance pretty versatile in terms of their carry lineup. Their mid-roll is a bit more limited just because we don't really see S4 too much on farming mids, like Shadow Fiend. We do see him sometimes on that role. We don't see S4 too much on Naga. Usually Loda plays that. But in terms of just controlling the tempo and making nothing out of something, Alliance is definitely the best team in terms of making something out of nothing. When they are behind, Alliance is probably the scariest team to go up against, just because they know how to exploit the individual facets of a team fight better than any team, I think, in the world. Second place, Empire. This is just a biased choice. My favorite teams are probably Empire Alliance or not Empire Alliance, but Empire Fnatic, and I'd say probably VP with VG, but VG have just not been looking too impressive. NewBee been looking pretty solid. I do think NewBee's sort of safe play style will be very, very strong in this tournament. Fourth place, EG. EG's definitely going to get top 4. This is probably the only guaranteed slot. But if I had to take out a choice, it would probably be Empire swapped out for IG. DK have been looking pretty strong, but anything can happen again in TI3. Na'Vi, not looking that strong, but I refuse to believe that they'll go down without a fight. They might not get their traditional second or first place, but they're going to be very strong. So this place, I think I just made when I was just fucking about. This is probably going to be completely wrong. The only team I could probably bet my money on for being in the top 4 is going to be Alliance and EG. Insert 2 Chinese teams here. But just judging on the Chinese play style and how much better they've been looking, there's going to be 4 Chinese teams in the top 8 and 2 in the top 4. I don't think the West will go down without a fight, but this is going to be the most even TI we've ever had. So just keep that in mind. And these predictions, don't take any of these to heart. They are completely wrong. So these are players. Can't do any of that. Fnatic, favorite team. Although they've had the drama recently. Ake, favorite player. He's just so damn dreamy. And all-star match. Yeah. So those are my picks. Night Stalker. Oh, Night Stalker. Wish you were good. Oh well. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Let me know if you want to see sort of... I can go over each individual day of the TI matchups, and I think I will do that just for funsies, and just give you my predictions per each day. and then you can compare it yourself to see how it goes. But yeah, haven't been really playing too much Dota recently. Been busy with work, but I will be in Boston. Of course, TI, the second last day, is on my birthday, so I might hit up a Boston pub stomp. Let me know if you're in Boston. If not, well, another time, I suppose. But thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.